The Supreme Court made two rulings that'll impact college students in the coming years. Amazon partners with Vechain using the token VET, and is there a possible partnership between PayPal and Hedera's ecosystem using the token Hbar? And the last thing, Coinbase files its motion to dismiss its case against the SEC. Make sure you guys tune in all the way to the end of this video to find out all the details. Hey guys, it's Ryan with Big Dog Investing. Thank you guys for tuning into my channel. If you guys could do a couple of things for me, if you guys go ahead and like, comment, subscribe to my channel if you guys have not done so already. Click the bell notification down below so YouTube can send you guys notifications whenever I release videos. Watch my videos all the way to the end. And if you guys could, share my videos and share my channel with anyone. I'm trying to grow my channel as much as I can, and I definitely need your guys' help in doing so. Getting started, today's going to be Saturday, July 1st. The total market cap for all cryptocurrencies right now is $1.2 trillion. This is a 0.55% increase on the day today. Bitcoin right now is currently trading at $30,599. Ethereum at $1,922, and XRP at 47.45 cents. Now, XRP is the only one down on the week right now in the top 10, I believe. Yep, in the top 10, only one down on the 7-day. And this is due to the speculation of the lawsuit ending last month. It didn't happen, so that's why it's down on the 7-day, in my opinion. Again, no financial advice. But for CoinMarketCap, it was nice to see that they actually put the Fear and Greed Index on their website. If you guys have been following my channel, every once in a while I'll post in the videos the Fear and Greed Index, but now it's right on the CoinMarketCap homepage. Right now we're in the greed, so this is a good sign for investor confidence in cryptocurrency, in my opinion. We'll see what happens, though. It was always in the greed during 2019. During that nice run up in the last bull run. We'll see what happens. But this is a good sign that we might be in a bull run, in my opinion. I think we are, but only time will tell. But this is just due to the adoption of cryptocurrency globally, especially outside the United States, as we're still waiting on a bunch of lawsuits. Getting into our biggest gainers on the day today, Flow is going to be up 16.3%, BSV is going to be up 15%, and Woo and Engine are going to be up 10.6%. Our biggest losers on the day today, FTT is going to be down 16.1%. The reason why this is down, though, in my opinion, is because it went drastically up on the week. It's up 69.8% on the week. But the reason why is because the FTX exchange plans on relaunching. They're filing some paperwork right now, so a lot of people are gambling on that. In my opinion, fool me once, shame on you. Fool me twice, shame on me. I will not be investing in this coin or buying any crypto on their new exchange that they're coming out with after Sam Bankman-Fried, their founder, stole billions of dollars worth of investors and people who bought cryptocurrency on their exchange, their money, and use that to live his lavish lifestyle and launder money. But other big losers right here, comp down 8.7%, same thing. It was up drastically on the 7-day. And then also Kava is going to be down 4.6%. Getting into our news, though, it's kind of frustrating, but Twitter just came out. I can't even, if you guys go, but right here it says Elon Musk announces temporary read limit on Twitter. So I can't even open up new stuff on Twitter. If I go right here, it says, sorry, something went wrong. There was something right here that says that I've reached my rate limit, but now there's a rate limit on Twitter, so I can't. So I'm going to read from my phone. I have another personal Twitter. For our Watcher Guru news, though, getting into it, though, Robert F. Kennedy says Bitcoin is a defense against the manipulation of our money supply, and that if he is elected president, he will make sure that your right to hold and use Bitcoin is unavoidable. In my opinion, I think that this is a positive, except I don't see him actually, in my opinion, becoming president of the United States in the 2024 election. MicroStrategy has purchased an additional 12,333 Bitcoin at $347 million. The UK passes a bill to recognize crypto as a regulated financial activity by the country. We'll talk about that in a second. I have an article that you guys can read. Again, everything's going to be in the comments. President Biden says he's going to make a tax system fair by eliminating loopholes for crypto traders. In my opinion, there is really no loopholes in the United States. If you guys make money with crypto, it's either considered a capital gains tax if you hold it for less than a year, or if you guys hold cryptocurrency for more than a year and you sell it, it is considered a taxable income. So it's an income tax. So whatever tax bracket you're in for that year is where you would go for your tax payment. $4.2 trillion asset manager Fidelity officially files for a Bitcoin spot ETF. They filed a couple of times. Not the IRS, the SEC has come out several times and said it's not good enough, so they have to keep rewording it. And then now they refiled with Coinbase. Uh, Florida Governor Ron DeSantis says he will abolish the IRS if elected in 2024. In my opinion, I disagree with that. The IRS is important because how are we going to get the tax money to go for the important programs like welfare and stuff like that? In my opinion, the IRS is super important. It funds our police and stuff like that. In my opinion, it would be drastically in our military, and it would be drastically irresponsible for anyone to get rid of the IRS. It's important. We can revamp it. I'll agree with that, but we don't need to get rid of it 100%. There's a thing going on in France right now. A lot of riots after a 17-year-old who was shot and killed by police. We'll talk about that a little bit more in depth. Um, what else? Apple becomes first company in history to close a $3 trillion market cap. It's nice to see that that's happening. Obviously, these companies are going to keep growing. In my opinion, we'll see what happens with as more companies start to grow. I do see cryptocurrency becoming a $3 trillion market cap. It hasn't hit that yet. It's been in the high twos. But I do think that it can hit a $3 trillion market cap. Then the last thing that we're going to go over for our Watcher Guru news is the IRS orders Kraken Exchange to turn over its user information for the exchange to the IRS. Now, in my opinion, I agree and disagree with this. A lot of people don't like the IRS getting your taxable information, but obviously taxes are important. But obviously, if you guys have used Kraken before, a lot of this was going on. You didn't have to KYC, which means you didn't have to put in your driver's license or your social security number to be able to be taxed. They're requiring it now here in the US. But again, we need rules and regulations for cryptocurrency for it to succeed, at least here in the US. So that's why I'm a little bit for and against it as well. But if you guys use Coinbase, which is the most popular in the United States, Binance.us, or Uphold, you're still required to submit your driver's license and as well as your social security number. So it should be no different for Kraken. But again, this whole Twitter thing, it's going to go really bad. If you guys are a verified Twitter, which means you pay for Twitter Blue, you pay that monthly fee, your increase is just by a little bit, not by much. So they don't even get unlimited reads on Twitter. Your post limits even more than your reads right now, according to what Elon Musk has proposed. In my opinion, this is a negative for Twitter, but again, he can do his own thing. It's his company, but I do see this as a negative, and a lot of people are going to get away from Twitter if this continues. Moving on, though, with the Supreme Court decision on college admissions could become more subjective. So what this means is the Supreme Court abolished affirmative action in the 6-3 ruling. So it's no longer based on race. So race doesn't actually help your chances of getting into college. This was because a person filed a lawsuit against Harvard saying that he was discriminated against because of his race. He is an Asian American, and there was a study that was done and said that Asian Americans are 12 times less likely to get into a college compared to an African American with the same test scores, grades, and as well as community impact. And obviously, if that's true, that study, and it said that's for Harvard, and then for USC, I think it was a 33 times more likely to not get in to USC if you're an Asian American compared to an African American. Again, that's discrimination. But there's a lot of stuff that's going on right now with this. A lot of people are against this. I'm indifferent. I'm not going to comment on it. But that's just what happened with affirmative action with the Supreme Court. And then the second thing, the next day, the Supreme Court kills President Biden's loan relief plan. And for those of you guys that don't know, that was a plan to basically get rid of college debt, $430 billion worth of college debt. So if you made under $125,000 and if you had college debt, you were eligible to receive $10,000 in debt relief. And if you received a Pell Grant, then you were eligible up to $20,000 in debt relief. Now, I'm one of those that received a Pell Grant. I still have student loans, so I would have received up to $20,000 in debt relief. And I'm actually for the Supreme Court doing this. There's a lot of reasons why, in my opinion. I took out the loan. Somebody else who pays taxes shouldn't be held responsible for my debt. But there's a video if you guys want to. It's in my likes that you guys can go and watch, but it's one that I talk about all the time where a man goes and talks to Elizabeth Warren and says, are you going to pay me back for me paying for my daughter's education? And she says, no, why would I do that? And he's like, well, I worked double shifts. I did everything I could. I didn't take the extra vacations. I didn't buy the new house, the new boats, anything else like that. So I could pay for my daughter to go to college. But my neighbor, he was doing the exact same thing. And you're laughing at me. And she's like, I'm not laughing, but I'm not going to pay you back. And if you were like doing what the government told you to do, what you were supposed to do, what schools were telling you to do was save your money, go to college, get a job, and you'll be able to be free financially. Obviously, that's not what's going on. What they need to do is they need to figure out tuition. College tuition is drastically increasing here in the U.S. year over year. But the big thing, in my opinion, and the reason why the Supreme Court ruled against this is the separation of powers. The President of the United States does not have the ability to allocate funds like this. Congress does. So all he needs to do is have Congress create a bill, have it pass through Congress, and the Supreme Court can't do anything about it. And that's why the Supreme Court killed the debt relief program. But if they want it passed, have it pass through Congress. We'll see what happens. But obviously, they know it's not going to pass through Congress. That's why he wanted to do this way. But in my opinion, this is his way of buying votes. Now, for France, we talked about the 17-year-old who was shot and killed by police while driving away. It's the first death in France or in Europe, in my opinion, in a long time for a gun related to police. And that's why there's a bunch of riots. There's 2,560 fires on public roads, 1,350 burned vehicles, 234 buildings burned or degraded, and 1,311 people arrested as of the fourth night of riots in France. Now, obviously, they're protesting, but there's a lot going on. There's a little bit more that meets the eye to this, but we're talking about it because it affects the financial markets. Again, this is exactly what happened in the United States not too long ago when people were burning down buildings and looting and everything else like that. It has a huge financial impact, and a lot of businesses will never reopen, in my opinion, in that area. Now, Bill Gates' company released billions of mosquitoes in Florida and Texas. Malaria is now in Florida and Texas for the first time in 20 years. And then Bill Gates somehow has a malaria vaccine almost ready. If you guys want to, you guys can Google the Mosquito Project. You guys can read about this a little bit more. But in my opinion, this is another genetically modified bug that is now going to spread diseases here in the US. And somehow there is a vaccine that's ready to stop and prevent this from happening and spreading further. Moving on, though, Paul Grewal, he's the chief legal officer over at Coinbase. He has come out and says this is a very thoughtful analysis and proposal, more proof that the UK and others are not waiting around for the US to get their act together on digital assets. So they published recommendations for reform and development into the law, and then it was passed. So a landmark UK finance bill that will regulate and recognize crypto as a regulated financial activity in the country has passed into law, with King Charles giving it the final approval. Here's the article if you guys want to read a little bit more about it. But in my opinion, again, everywhere outside the United States is succeeding in digital assets. Now, this is what we were talking about. Vechain partners with Amazon to build a green and sustainable future for tech companies. Vechain, for those of you guys that don't know, is huge into the supply industry. They want to figure out and regulate supply chain. And again, should have caused the Vechain price to go up a little bit more. But they've already partnered with them several times before. Prior to this, I've seen 2 other partnerships. This is just another partnership with Amazon, but Vechain is going to be hitting Coinbase soon, and that's why the last price increase, in my opinion, went up so much. But this is the one that kind of struck me. I am invested in Hbar as well as Vechain, but King Solomon says one Hbar is equal to the value of another Hbar, and this is PayPal. This is a patent filed by PayPal, and he found it. And it says right here, for example, one Hbar is equal in the value to another Hbar. This fungible characteristic makes cryptocurrency suitable for the use of a secure medium of transaction in digital economies. NFTs shift the crypto paradigm by making each token unique and irreplaceable. So I agree with this. I think that PayPal is going to be using Hedera and the Hbar token. We'll see what happens, though. But bullish on Hbar after seeing this. Again, I already have some, though. Meta Lawman says crypto litigation update. A lot will happen in crypto court cases in the next several months. Each court decision that comes down potentially impacts others' pending cases. Here's the status of the upcoming deadlines of some of the cases. So the SEC versus Ripple is waiting a critical ruling from Judge Torres on cross motions for summary judgment. Open question whether the judge will address secondary sales of XRP. Number 2, SEC versus Bittrex, June 30th deadline, which was yesterday. for Bittrex to file a motion to dismiss. I didn't see them file a motion to dismiss. I looked it up. I didn't see one. So I don't think that they filed a motion to dismiss the case. SEC versus Genesis and Gemini. July 21st is the deadline for the SEC to respond to the motion to dismiss filed by Genesis and Gemini, arguing that the EARN program is not properly classified as a security. SEC versus Coinbase, August 7, deadline for Coinbase to file its motion to dismiss. But Coinbase actually did file its motion, so we're going to talk about that towards the end. SEC versus Binance, September 21st, deadline for Binance to file motion to dismiss consent. Order entered to protect U.S. customer assets. Expedited discovery is underway. FTX bankruptcy, September 29th, deadline to submit customer proofs of claim, 200 plus million in fees incurred. Supposedly they recovered $7 billion worth of customer funds, so they can pay that 200 million fees. Coinbase versus the SEC, Third Circuit Court, October 11th, deadline for SEC to file a report to courts the status its consideration of Coinbase's petition to rulemaking. NYAG versus KuCoin, New York Attorney General asserts that Ethereum is a security. No progress reported on the case yet. Holders Law versus the SEC that seeks the court's ruling on Ethereum is not a security, waiting ruling for the SEC's motion to dismiss. Grayscale versus the SEC, suit is converted to GBTC to ETF, waiting on decision from DC Court of Appeals. The judges put together questions to the SEC of oral arguments. Voyager bankruptcy, its plans confirm Voyager customers are supposed to be able to withdraw about 35% of their account assets now, but problems reported. We'll see what happens with that. Celsius is bankrupt. U.S. Treasury versus FTX. Trustee is appealing bankruptcy court's denial of motion to appoint an independent examiner. A lot of this is going on, and again, this is why I do not agree with the FTX exchange relaunching. There's a lot of problems going on with it. They don't want an independent examiner coming in. We'll see what happens. But Hester Peirce, she's an SEC commissioner. There's 6 of them, but obviously not one of them, even the head of the SEC, Gary Gensler, cannot come out and label anything because it's his own belief and not the commission as a whole. But how can you be the commission head but never be able to direct any motion without all 6 of you guys coming together? If one disagrees, they have to say this is mine and not the SEC's as a whole. But Hester Peirce comes out and says protecting investors is important, but the government needs to have a good reason to prevent people from investing their own money as they choose. If you guys want to read the statements, it's right there. This was really interesting, and for those of you guys that don't know Lady K, I would go follow her on Twitter. But I've been in several Twitter spaces, and we were talking about it, and she comes out and says, I think that the SEC made their stance on crypto clear when the only exchange, Prometheus, granted its license, isn't live. So the only exchange to actually have a license to trade and buy and sell digital assets is Prometheus. And right now, they don't even have it live. Hasn't launched and never even sold a token. Who wants to bet that their license expires in 2026 before they even sell a token? And I agree. I don't think that Prometheus will ever sell a token by 2026. They'll have to refile, and somehow the SEC will grant it. Now, this is a must read from Blockchain Analysis. Chair Gensler's statements have legal consequences on the commissions and should be held accountable. You guys are going to have to click this. Again, I can't, if I actually try to click it, it says something went wrong. It says right here, sorry, your rate is limited. Please try in a few moments. Again, this is ridiculous, but I can't go through it. Paul Grewal comes out and says, today Coinbase filed our answer on notice of the intent to file a motion to dismiss against the SEC. You can read our responses for yourself for your oral arguments. It's 177 pages. So if you guys have the time and you guys want to read through it, you guys can. But it says, we welcome dialogue anytime with any regulator, including the SEC, and believe new regulation and rulemaking is the right path forward. But the claims in this case go far beyond the existing law and should be dismissed. Frederick Boley comes out and says that, even though that Coinbase is trying to do this, he's filing motions against Coinbase, against their Songbird and Flare Network community members who still have not received all of their tokens. Again, I'm one of those who did not receive tokens of Flare forever, and I still don't think that I've received all of my Flare. I think I've only got 10% of the Flare tokens I was supposed to receive from Coinbase. So it's just an interesting take. Everyone's for Coinbase now, but where was Coinbase with Ripple, and where are they now with their Flare and community members? But Jeremy Hogan points out, filed in its 177 pages response to the SEC lawsuit, what jumped out to me is how Coinbase uses information/experience from the Ripple cases. See the Hinman emails referenced below, and throws new stuff in the new stuff. So He talks about how Ripple is in here and the Hinman emails. Again, the uncertainty for cryptocurrency with the SEC staff, and that's inside Coinbase's lawsuit to dismiss its case against the SEC. So now everyone's jumping on Ripple versus the SEC's bandwagon, but where were they again 2.5 years ago when that lawsuit was happening? But now they're using a lot of the stuff that was happening right now in the Ripple versus the SEC lawsuit to benefit their own lawsuits. Now, if you guys want to, here's a video right here. But Gary Gensler comes out in 2018, I believe this is when this video was shot. It says over 70% of the cryptocurrencies like Bitcoin, Ether, Litecoin, and Bitcoin Cash. Why did he name those four? They're not securities. So he came out and said this in 2018 before he was part of the SEC. But now in Congress, he can't even determine if Bitcoin is considered a security. So or Ethereum, sorry. Ethereum is labeled as security in front of Congress. Won't say it. But over here, when he's teaching his classes, he'll say that those four are not securities. But to the American public, he says, sorry, I can't make any determinations. If you guys want to, you guys can read through John Deaton's and also Meta Lawman's. I don't want to make the video any longer, but they have their little breakdowns of Coinbase's 177 pages. But it's really interesting. They're changing different rules and stuff like that. But, John Deaton's breakdown is pretty good, pretty self-explanatory. Meta Lawman's a little more complex. You have to be able to analyze it a little bit more, but it's interesting. Put down in the comments if you guys have anything else that you guys want me to talk about. Sorry, I couldn't read some of this stuff though because of the Twitter whole crackdown on how many articles you're allowed to read or posts you're allowed to read in a day. If you guys can invest with the big dog, stay on the porch. Thank you guys and have a good one.